you make the decision to end your campaign by yourself, or did you receive pressure from Democratic allies?
This is a decision that I make and make with my family. And certainly I think, as I said, it's the right decision. I'll note, I think it's appropriate we're here today. The war that's being waged against Minnesota, you're seeing it. We have a ridiculous surge of apparently 2,000 people not coordinating with us that are for a show of the cameras. I'm going to note to all of you, today is January 6th. There's no debate what happened. The President of the United States led an insurrection against a fair election to try and overturn that and, report both sides of this. Well, he said he really didn't, and courts convicted 400 of them, and he pardoned them. No, he did that. He did that, and that's today. And it's clear that we also saw today he implemented 5 states are being punished with a freezing of federal funds illegally that were appropriated by Congress, our tax dollars.
So there you have it. Tim Walz finally had a moment to speak to the press, actually answer their questions. But instead of doing just that, he had to pivot and spend his time attacking President Trump. Talk about Trump derangement syndrome. In case you missed it, Tim Walz announced that he was suspending his campaign to be reelected governor of Minnesota. Now, he announced this yesterday, and I made a video on this, and they invited the press. They said that he was going to take questions yesterday, but instead he fled. He ran away and told them, hey, come back today and I'll answer your questions. I don't know why they did that. Maybe it's because he needed to study his note cards. Maybe it's because they were pre-vetting the questions, or maybe even, planting questions among the reporters. If that's what they did, I'm not just pulling that out of nowhere. We all know that that's what they did for Joe Biden. They even did that a few times for Kamala Harris during the 2024 campaign. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did that this time. But if that's what they did, it turned out to be an absolute disaster because, as you saw there, Tim Walz could not hit a single note. I just love, in case you missed, it was kind of hard to hear. What the reporter asked was, did anyone pressure you? Did you get a call from the Democrat Party? Did any of your colleagues encourage you to drop out of the race? So that's why, basically, what's your reasoning behind this? And he could have talked more about his family, maybe wanting to spend time with his daughter, his wife, his son. All of those could be valid, could be understandable, but instead he gave one sentence and immediately started talking about President Trump. And in case you missed it, he talked about January 6th. What in the world does January 6th have to do with you resigning? Well, he's not resigning. Oops, did not mean for that to slip out of my mouth. He was very clear about that later on, which we'll get into later in the video, dropping his reelection bid. January 6th has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with the fraud that happened in your state. The only reason he brought up January 6th is because he's trying to score political points with the radical part of his base, and because, as one of my close friends has told me, January 6th has become the Pearl Harbor for the Democrats. There was that meme going around last year where, guys think about ancient Rome, like, what's your ancient Rome? This is their ancient Rome. It's January 6th. Just take a look. This is breaking just a few moments ago. Top Democrats on Capitol Hill went outside to commemorate January 6th in a candlelight vigil. What a complete joke here. Let's just unwrap this because there's a lot of layers to this. I get that the 5th anniversary of something is a big deal. There are certain numbers that are bigger than others. The 10th anniversary, 25th. Of course, this year is the 250th birthday of America. We'll be celebrating that on July 4th. But if January 6th was as bad as the Democrats claim, why wait till the 5th anniversary to do a candlelight vigil? I don't remember one on the first year. You would have thought that they would have commemorated January 6th then. I remember I was in middle school when September 11 happened. I remember the first year anniversary of September 11. Even though I grew up in the middle of nowhere, we weren't close to any big cities, there were even candlelight vigils in our small towns. Where was this for January 6th? Also, put yourself in the shoes of the Democrats who claim that January 6th was the day democracy almost died. Wouldn't you want to celebrate that? Shouldn't you be shooting off sparklers? Yay, we saved our democracy. But instead, they're mourning. If you really believed that President Trump was trying to incite a coup, an insurrection, and stop our form of government forever so he could become a tyrant and a king, shouldn't you be celebrating that? But instead, they're looking all serious and sad. This, of course, is all performative because If it really was as big of a deal as they're saying, they would have commemorated January 6th, the first anniversary, the third one. They would have done it at least once under Joe Biden, but no, they wait until President Trump is back in office. Well, going back to the press conference today with Tim Walz, where he actually answered questions, he accidentally contradicted himself. Yes, he exposed himself as a liar. Surprise, surprise. Well, most of the questions focused on his decision to end his reelection campaign, as well as whether or not he's going to resign. And he got caught up in a bit of word salad and made this admission.
State, there's full accountability for everybody because I buck stops with me. I'm accountable for this. And because of that accountability, I'm not running for office again. But I have a year to continue to improve on a record that I think will stand up against anybody's, a record that has made Minnesota better, a record that makes people want to come here, and a record that has respected not only the dignity of people, but the idea of rule of law.
Whew, boy. I get that saying I'm accountable is not the same thing as saying I'm guilty, but he's behaving as though they're the same thing with all this self-flagellation. Oh, I'm accountable, so therefore I'm not going to run again. He's putting himself in this like savior status as if he's taking the high road and, I'm going to stay above the mud. He's the one doing the right thing in all of this when he's claiming he wants to be accountable. That just doesn't make sense. But even more so, he actually contradicted what he said yesterday, because yesterday he said he wasn't guilty. He wasn't accountable for this at all. That had nothing to do with him deciding not to run for re-election. No, the reason he dropped out, based on what he said yesterday, is because I don't want our state to get bogged down in politics. There's a difference between I'm leaving because I don't want the political fight. I don't think I can win it if I'm not focusing on it, versus I'm accountable. I maybe am guilty, not his exact words, but obviously the gist he's putting out there, and therefore that's why I'm not going to run. Compare what he just said to what he said yesterday.
Which brings me to this. 2026 is an election year. Election years have a way of ramping up the politics at a time when we simply can't afford more of that in Minnesota. In September, I announced that I would seek a historic third term as Minnesota's governor, and I have every confidence that if I gave it my all, we would win the race. But as I reflect on this moment with my family and my team over the holidays, I came to the conclusion that I can't give a political campaign my all. Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who want to prey on our differences. So I've decided to step out of this race, and I'll let others worry about the election while I focus on the work that's in front of me for the next year.
So what is it, Tim Walz? You dropped out of the race because you're accountable, or you dropped out of the race because you don't want to get involved in fighting the political campaign? You can't commit your full time to getting reelected because you want to focus on serving the good people of your state. Just, again, talk about how performative this all sounds. I don't think anyone actually buys that, with the exception of the brain-dead radical part of the woke left. It just... nothing computes here. Nothing adds up to anything remotely logical. Of course, if you're going to end your re-election campaign because you're accountable, then why wouldn't you resign, right? If it affects your future, why does it not affect your present? I don't think he thought that one through, but apparently at least one reporter in the room thought it through, because a reporter asked him, hey, are you going to resign? He was asked this multiple times, and boy, oh boy, did Tim Walz not like that question. He flipped out.
Their idea of improving this state is being a parrot for Donald Trump, agreeing to everything that he agreed with. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. It ain't happening. I'm not going anywhere. And you can make all your requests for me to resign over my dead body. Will that happen? I will fight this thing till the very end to make this state better. And the question that I think they need to decide is when did the guy in the White House resign? When does he take accountability for what he did? Because it isn't going to happen here in terms of us shying away from making this.
Are you now accusing President Trump of being involved in the Somali fraud and the daycare fraud in your state? Again, what does President Trump or President Trump resigning have to do with you ending your re-election campaign? What does it have to do with the fraud in your state? Talk about a world-class pivot. And I don't mean world-class as in brilliant. I mean world-class as in That was awful, dude. What in the world does Trump have to do with the conversation that we're having right now? We're talking about your state. We're talking about your term. We're talking about your reelection. Why do you keep bringing him up? Why are you obsessed with the man in the White House? Talk about Trump derangement syndrome. They really are exposing themselves today. Now, his daughter, Hope Walz, has now come out in defense of her father. And look, I'm not going to judge her for that. I think most children would come out in defense of their parents. But she accidentally, just like her dad, accidentally admitted, hey, the fraud is the real deal. But before we get into that, I would like to acknowledge the members of today's Governor's Club. They are Hawaii 808, Regor 1559, and Moon Fairy 11. These are people who give tips and super thanks to the channel. I'm so thankful that you enjoy, and I'm glad that you're here. Well, this is what Hope Walz said on a podcast today.
But it's like, it's not about him. It's about he's the other side for a big group of Americans,
yes.
I feel like.
Yes, and I think he was popular during the campaign last fall.
Yep.
And he's still in office, and he was running again. And so it's just kind of an easy thing for them to pick up on. Mm-hmm. And I think there's enough truth to the fraud claim, things, that they were able to twist it and amplify it and whatnot, because it is being dealt with. They were just able to frame it in a way that benefited them.
It's gotten under people's...
Hope, I don't think that's quite the defense you think it is. Oh, there was enough there that they were able to twist and amplify it. If there's enough there, fraud is a bad thing. Doesn't matter if it's billions or just a few million. Either way, that's something you want to prevent. And the reality is, we know that this has been under investigation for years. People in Minnesota proper, as well as the local media, have been talking about it, yet nothing has apparently been done, and the problem has been getting worse. I don't think that that's twisting or exploiting or manipulating anything to say, it's, enough truth is there. Again, I think that actually undercuts your argument. As always, though, all of that is just my analysis and commentary. That's what's happening in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. So, how long do you think Tim Walz is going to last? Do you think he's going to actually serve out the rest of his term, or do you think he'll actually resign early? Let me know your predictions down in the comments below. Now, he's claiming he's going to serve out the rest of his term, but honestly, given how quickly this happened, given his temperament recently, which, I mean, that's not saying a lot, because he's always had a bit of a short, wacky fuse. I mean, this doesn't seem like a guy who is stable enough and clear-minded enough to serve out the rest of the term, but we'll see. Maybe he actually will follow through on that, but I personally have a hard time. Let me know if you have any predictions. Do you think he's going to resign early, and if so, is it 1 month, 6 months? Let me know your predictions down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to leave me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.